Hi there, this is Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films, and we're up to part 6 of my Joseph Losey season. Today we're going to go to 1954 and talk about The Sleeping Tiger. This is part of this 7-film Joseph Losey DVD box set, which quite a lot of the films are now on Blu-ray, and did receive good news in coincidence to this season. Studiocanal Vintage Classics are releasing The Sleeping Tiger on Blu-ray, which also has an extra by Matthew Sweet, who always does very good work for Studiocanal. So looking forward to getting it on Blu-ray. I believe that's out November the 7th. Sleeping Tiger, Joseph Losey worked under the pseudonym of Victor Hanbury, and the Studiocanal still has directed by Victor Hanbury, who was a director in the 30s who died in 1954. But Losey, I think with his permission before he died, let him use his name. This is a film that stars Dirk Bogarde, Alexander Knox, who again might be not necessarily a name you recognise, but you recognise the face, and also Hugh Griffith as a police inspector, who again you might not recognise the name, but you'll certainly recognise the face, and Alexis Smith, who I haven't seen in that much, as Alexander Knox's wife, and also, apologies because I can't think of the actress's name, but the actress who plays the blind mother in Peeping Tom, she plays Alexander Knox's assistant. So Alexander Knox is a psychiatrist, and we're introduced to his character on a dark night. He's walking along a street, and he is held up at gunpoint, but he manages to wrestle the gunman, and then it cuts to his house, and we learn the gunman was Dirk Bogarde, and Alexander Knox has agreed to take him in for 6 months to try and help him through therapy instead of jail time. And obviously Dirk Bogarde agrees to this. Alexis Smith is the doctor's wife, and again he has the assistant. He also has a housemaid called Sally. Now the one thing about this film that you have to suspend your disbelief on is Dirk Bogarde is essentially playing a young hoodlum, a kind of spiv character, but he still talks in the kind of very posh, clipped Dirk Bogarde way. Plus, Dirk Bogarde, when he made this, was 33 years old, so he's way too old for the actual character. You imagine this character to be maybe between 18 and 22 probably, but Bogarde is 33 when he plays this. But you kind of just have to suspend your disbelief for that and just pretend that he's a lot younger. So obviously Dirk Bogarde doesn't really want to talk about things. Alexander Knox is focused on his father and his relationship with his father and his stepmother. So there's obviously things there that eventually we find out what they're about. Alexis Smith is not happy having Dirk Bogarde in the house. Sally, the maid, is not happy having Dirk Bogarde in the house. The inspector, played by Hugh Griffith, is not happy having Dirk Bogarde in the house because he wants to bang him up. Bogarde continues to do jobs. I mean, he has free reign. He can leave at night. He can go out at night when he wants to. Alexander Knox tells him he can bring friends over, and Bogarde's like, even if they're female. So he continues doing jobs, including a daring daylight robbery where we see him coming out of Woolworths when Woolworths was still a thing, with sunglasses, popping out the lenses, putting on spectacles, walking past a workman's tent, picking up a bag, and then going into an office and robbing them at gunpoint, where he then hides the money in the doctor's office. The doctor always kind of takes his side, much to the chagrin of his wife and the inspector. But then, in the early scenes, we see Bogarde sitting in the house, surrounded by plants, which is a nice touch. It's almost as if he's a jungle. The sleeping tiger of the title is that side of all of us. Then, when provoked, when pushed to the limit, will release this sleeping tiger of violence. But the question is, out of the three main characters, whose sleeping tiger is going to come out to play in the final analysis? The doctor encourages Dirk Bogarde to go riding with his wife, so there are scenes of Dirk Bogarde in riding trousers. Again, he's supposed to be this kind of young, troubled man. So again, there is some suspension of disbelief that needs to take place. But then the wife kind of begins to get attracted to him. He takes her out to the nightclub that he usually goes to, and she's kind of dressed up. And he says, you need to go and put on something a little cheaper. So at first she doesn't really like it, especially when he dances close to her. But over time she begins to get attracted to him, until the later stages in the film where she pretty much goes full Kathleen Byron in Black Narcissus, if you know what that means. And Alexander Knox, he's pushed to the edge by events as well. The last third of the film is so wonderful as everybody goes bananas. I mean, it's a high melodrama, but it's just so enjoyable. Again, looking forward to seeing the Blu-ray, because it's got nice black and white cinematography. Losey uses the frame very well, whether it's mirrors or the frame of a car window. And again, we have themes of characters trapped, characters wanting to escape, characters wanting to take flight. Bogarde is fantastic, as I say, he is far too old for the role, but it doesn't really matter. Bogarde was shown The Prowler, one of the earlier Losey films, and was really impressed. Losey does credit Bogarde for pretty much giving him a career, or saving his career. Bogarde did kind of smuggle Losey from studio to hotels and things like that to try and hide him, essentially. So Bogarde was played a pivotal role in kind of Losey's career. It's probably my favourite of the early Losey films. It's just so much fun. Again, even if you have to suspend your disbelief about Bogarde's character a little bit. But again, the last third, it just ramps up the melodrama quite wonderfully. Alexis Smith is fantastic as the wife. At one point, she exclaims that she wishes she was a man just before trying to slap Bogarde, and then ends up kissing him. It's got lots of wonderful things in it. Again, the assistant, you can kind of tell, cares more for the doctor than his wife does. The relationship's rather fractured to begin with, and Bogarde kind of takes advantage of that. But then even, near the end of the film, even he's kind of a little bit scared by Alexis Smith. Some of the psychology and the therapy scenes are a little bit heavy-handed, perhaps. And looking back on the film, Losey kind of felt that a little bit as well. But it has a terrific climax that gives a fairly obvious nod to the title as well. It's just a lot of fun, and certainly one of the earlier films that I would highly recommend. And as I say, looking forward to the Studiocanal Vintage Classics release on Blu-ray in November the 7th. As I say, Matthew Sweet is doing a video essay on it, and the extras. I don't know whether there's a commentary, we'll have to double check that. There is also an appearance by a young Billy Whitelaw for eagle-eyed viewers. She plays the secretary that Dirk Bogarde holds up the office of. So that was nice to see. And Hugh Griffith is wonderful as the suspicious inspector. It's just a wonderful little film. Again, if you're not into Blu-rays, this 7-film DVD set is very good, and it is good to see that just about all of these films are now on Blu-ray, because Losey has had a bit of a renaissance the past 5 years. So that's The Sleeping Tiger, a wonderful early Losey, even if it is a little bit daft, but I kind of love the daftness of it. So please let me know in the comments below if you've seen The Sleeping Tiger and what you think of it, and hopefully you'll join me again for part 7 of the Joseph Losey series. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.